This evening, first up, a Region 1 police constable under investigation after a viral video shows him staggering through Port Kaituma with an AK-47 reportedly drunk before two gunshots ring out. The commissioner orders an urgent probe as the rank is placed under close arrest. Plus, a major shake-up to Guyana's tint laws. Home Affairs Minister Oneidge Walrond announces a universal 35% tint allowance, tougher penalties, and stricter oversight of waivers. Drivers now have up to the end of the year to comply before nationwide enforcement kicks in. And a huge cannabis bust on the East Coast. Police uncover more than 100 pounds of suspected marijuana in Clonbrook. Two women arrested as investigators work to dismantle the drug network behind the stash. Meanwhile, hope in the hinterland. Region 9 residents receive house lots and building subsidies during a major government outreach in Lethem, bringing dozens of families one step closer to owning a home. And regionally, tensions rise again. Venezuela accuses U.S. President Donald Trump of making colonialist threats as Washington builds its largest Caribbean military presence in decades. These stories and more coming up on Headline News Update. Stay with us. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for December 1st, 2025. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, the Guyana Police Force has launched an urgent investigation after a disturbing video surfaced on social media showing a police constable in Region 1 walking through the streets of Port Kaituma with a force-issued AK-47 rifle while reportedly intoxicated. The footage shows the rank, identified by residents as Henry, dressed in casual clothes and visibly unsteady as he paces along the roadway armed with the high-powered weapon. At one point, he is seen arguing with another individual and threatening to shoot. Moments later, two loud gunshots are heard, sending nearby residents into panic as they attempt to calm him down and escort him away. Given the gravity of the incident, the Commissioner of Police has ordered an immediate and thorough probe. The rank has been placed under close arrest, and the Office of the Professional Responsibility has been directed to conduct a comprehensive investigation into both his behavior and the circumstances that led to the incident. The Guyana Police Force described the matter as extremely serious, noting that the actions seen in the video pose significant risk to public safety and violate core principles of professionalism, discipline, and firearm responsibility. The force said the investigation will determine what disciplinary or criminal charges will follow. The Guyana Police Force reaffirmed its commitment to accountability and maintaining public trust, stating that further updates will be provided as the investigation progresses. In other news, Minister of Home Affairs Oneidge Walrond has announced sweeping changes to Guyana's vehicle tint regulations, introducing a universal allowance for basic tint and tightening oversight of specialized waivers. Under the government's new tint policy, vehicle owners and operators found in breach can now face fines of up to $75,000. The new rules, which take immediate effect, permit all motor vehicles to use tint that allows no less than 35% light penetration. A shift, the minister said, was aimed at bringing fairness, predictability, and order to a system long plagued by inconsistency and abuse. Speaking during a live address on Friday, Minister Walrond said the previous tint waiver system had become burdensome and vulnerable to manipulation, with the ministry receiving high volumes of applications and facing ongoing administrative delays.
Having conducted a comprehensive evaluation of the system, and following consultations with the Guyana Police Force and other technical experts, I wish to announce the following measures which take immediate effect. There will be the introduction of 3 clearly defined tint waiver categories based on assessed risk profiles. In the interest of equity and to eliminate administrative delays, there will be a universal provision for basic tint without waiver, which stipulates that all motor vehicles will now be allowed tint with no less than 35% light penetration. This applies across the board and does not require any tint waiver.
Following a full evaluation and consultations with the Guyana Police Force and technical experts, the government has moved to streamline the process. Under the new framework, basic tint no longer requires a waiver. However, restricted waivers will still be available, specifically approved by the minister.
Restricted waivers for high security categories will be introduced. Categories 1 and 2 will apply strictly to diplomats, government officials, high-profile security-related persons, and other specific categories expressly approved by the Minister of Home Affairs.
3 defined waiver categories will be introduced based on assessed security risk. Minister Walrond confirmed that the existing legislation will be amended to legalize the new measures and warned that non-compliance will result in fines and charges under traffic law.
All motor vehicle owners and operators are required to comply fully with these revised tint regulations. These changes are intended to bring predictability, equity, and fairness to the long-standing issue of tint management.
Vehicle owners have been granted a compliance period up until December 31st, 2025, after which the Guyana Police Force will launch nationwide enforcement operations. The minister emphasized that the updated system promotes equity and eliminates the previous requirements for most drivers to obtain waivers, noting that a new 35% penetration rule is significantly more lenient than the former 65% standard. Moving on, residents of Region 9 benefited from a wide range of government housing services during a major outreach hosted in Lethem on Friday by the Ministry of Housing and Water, Central Housing and Planning Authority. The activity was led by Housing Minister Colin Crowell and Minister within the Ministry, Vanessa Ben, alongside local officials including Lethem's Deputy Mayor, Indira Singh. Dozens of residents received steel and cement vouchers under the Presidential Housing Subsidy Program, while others were allocated house lots or engaged directly with the ministers to resolve long-standing issues. The initiative is part of ongoing efforts to expand home ownership and ease the housing backlog in hinterland communities. For beneficiaries and long-time Lethem residents, the allocation represents a fresh start, and the allotment will finally allow their families to live independently and securely. The lands allocated will allow them to build a stable home for themselves and their families. Minister Crowell noted that 226 vouchers valued at $50.8 million have been designated for the region and reaffirmed the government's pledge to clear all remaining applications by 2026. Minister Ben added that taking services directly to hinterland communities ensures more equitable access to housing opportunities. The outreach underscores the government's continued push to improve living conditions in the hinterland, with officials reaffirming their commitment to ensuring that every family in Region 9 has a fair opportunity to build, own, and secure a better future. Stick around when we return. Guyana urged to remain vigilant as 449 new HIV cases recorded amid regional surge, and the police seized over 100 pounds of suspected cannabis in Clonbrook.
The most wonderful time of the year, and we're celebrating with big savings on smartphones, starting as low as $16,500 for the Samsung A06 and $26,500 for the Samsung A16 and $40,500 for the A26. But wait, there's more. Get 1 month free data with your new phone to keep you close to loved ones near and far. Offer available while stocks last. Visit a Digicel store today and unwrap the gift of real connections. Digicel.
See clearly with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Common smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Mill Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226
us out at Decor and Gift Gallery this Christmas holiday for all your shopping needs. We are located at 47 Craig and Sheriff Street, Campbellville, Georgetown.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Ping pong, from Josh chocolates,
Comes into flavor.
ping pong, everybody wants some. Roasted peanuts is the true #1. Ping pong, you better get a handful. This chocolate is so incredible. What's the snack everybody craves for? Ping pong bongs into flavor. Chocolate coated peanuts, delicious top class A+. Ping pong, from Josh chocolates, bongs into flavor.
The Ministry of Health and the National AIDS Program Secretariat, NAPS, are calling for heightened national vigilance after 449 new HIV infections were confirmed in Guyana over the past year, reflecting ongoing regional transmission across the Caribbean. Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, made the announcement during the 2025 World AIDS Day conference held at the Arthur Chung Conference Center, Lilliendal, on Friday. He issued a strong call for pregnant women and the wider public to get tested for human immunodeficiency virus HIV, warning that preventable infections continue to occur despite the availability of modern treatment and prevention tools. Minister Anthony highlighted the nation's progress in transforming HIV from a terminal diagnosis into a manageable condition, citing government-funded treatment, widespread viral load monitoring, and prevention initiatives. Approximately $500,000 has been invested in advanced viral load equipment to ensure timely and accurate care. Once a person is virally suppressed, they cannot transmit HIV to their partner, he emphasized, underscoring the importance of early testing and consistent treatment. The minister noted that Guyana's 449 new cases align with the Caribbean trends, where UNAIDS report 15,000 new infections and 340,000 people living with HIV regionally. Despite public awareness, the minister warned that behavioral factors remain the primary barrier to reducing new infections. He said the big problem is not the tools, the big problem is people's behavior. Officials from UNICEF and other partners were recognized for supporting adolescent-focused education and expansion of self-testing and immunization campaigns. The minister urged workplaces, NGOs, and community groups to champion responsible behaviors, stressing that eliminating HIV as a public health threat by 2030 is achievable but requires sustained education, testing, treatment, and behavioral change. On a different note, police have seized more than 100 pounds of suspected cannabis during an intelligence-led raid in Clonbrook, where 2 women were taken into custody. Dil Jarvis has the details on the operation and arrests.
Police seized over 100 pounds of suspected cannabis during an intelligence-led operation in Clonebrook, arresting 2 women as investigations continue. Police in Regional Division 4C have launched a major investigation after more than 50 kilograms of suspected cannabis was discovered during an intelligence-driven operation in Section C, Clonbrook, East Coast Demerara, on Saturday, November 29, 2025. Authorities said the operation was initiated following targeted intelligence about illegal activities in the area. During the search, officers uncovered 2 large plastic barrels hidden on the property, each containing several bulky plastic wrap parcels filled with leaves, seeds, and stems, believed to be cannabis. 2 women, ages 41 and 55, who were at the premises at the time of the raid, were taken into custody. They were escorted to the Cove and John police station along with the parcels of suspected narcotics. At the station, the suspected cannabis was weighed in the presence of both women, amounting to 51.9 kilograms. The substance has since been lodged as evidence as the investigation continues. Police officials say the seizure forms part of intensified efforts to dismantle narcotics networks operating within the communities. The operation underscores the force's ongoing commitment to intelligence-driven policing to improve public safety and reduce drug-related criminal activity. Investigators are now preparing a file for legal advice, and charges are expected to be instituted as the probe advances. Reporting for Headline News Update, Dale Jervis.
Thanks, Dale. Don't go away after the break. Sri Lanka floods, death toll reaches 334, and thousands march in Philippines demanding Marcos resign over fraud scandal.
This Christmas runs on real connections with Digicel. The calls, the laughter, the joy, and the chance to pick and win big. We're giving away $12 million. Yes, every week, one lucky Digicel customer gets a chance to win up to $2 million. 6 lucky winners in total. Here's how you get in. Top up with $1,000 or more, or pay your fiber or postpaid bill in full. The more you top up, the more chances you get. Stay connected this Christmas for your chance to win big. Digicel.
Ping pong, some chocolates, flavor. Ping pong, everybody wants some. Roasted peanuts is the true #1. Ping pong, you better get a handful. This chocolate is so incredible. What's the snack everybody craves for? Ping pong, bongs into flavor. Chocolate coated peanuts, delicious top class A+. Ping pong, from chocolate, bongs into flavor.
Check us out at Decor and Gift Gallery this Christmas holiday for all your shopping needs. We are located at 47 Craig and Sheriff Street, Campbellville, Georgetown.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Common smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Middle Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world.
Good evening. I am Dominic Gittins. Tonight, the UN links Haiti's deepening security crisis to rising drug trafficking after a record cocaine seizure. Venezuela accused President Trump of colonialist threats. Sri Lanka pleads for aid after deadly floods. And mass protests shakes Manila. We begin in Haiti. The UN says Haiti's worsening security crisis is fueling its rise as a major transit point for cocaine and cannabis after authorities seized over 1,000 kilograms of cocaine in July, the largest bust in 30 years. UNODC links powerful gangs to regional trafficking networks, prompting expanding international support. Venezuela is accusing U.S. President Donald Trump of making colonialist threats after he declared that its airspace was closed. Tension between Washington and Caracas has been escalating for weeks. Al Jazeera's chief U.S. correspondent Alan Fisher reports.
La gloriosa aviación militar.
A day after unconfirmed reports Donald Trump had spoken directly to the Venezuelan president, he dropped this message on his social media channel. To all airlines, pilots, drug dealers and human traffickers, please consider the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela to be closed in its entirety. The US has been increasing its military presence in the Caribbean in recent months, parking a carrier group off the coast of Venezuela. It's also conducted a series of attacks on boats. The White House has claimed, without presenting evidence, that they were drug smugglers heading for the US. Donald Trump even confirmed the CIA were carrying out covert operations inside Venezuela.
I think Venezuela is feeling heat.
In Venezuela itself, one academic says this really isn't about drugs.
They shield themselves with this anti-drug policy, which is not a true anti-drug policy, but a geopolitical operation against a sovereign state.
The government in Caracas issued its own statement attacking the Trump post, saying Venezuela denounces and condemns the colonialist threat that seeks to affect the sovereignty of its airspace, constituting a new, extravagant, illegal and unjustified aggression against the people of Venezuela. While there are reports of planes still taking off and landing in the country, the threat of a possible escalation has many worried.
I think it's unfair because there are people who need to travel for work, for business, to see our family, and we Venezuelans are not to blame for these situations.
It affects us a lot because at least many people who were abroad, who were going to spend Christmas with their families here, can no longer do so.
While talking to troops by video on Thursday night, Trump said attacks against the boats could be expanded soon, with targets on the ground in Venezuela.
We'll be starting to stop them by land also. The land is easier, but that's going to start very soon. We warn them, stop sending poison to our country.
But even if strikes are not imminent, this builds pressure on the government in Caracas and Nicolas Maduro. Alan Fisher, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Sri Lanka is appealing for international aid as it declares a state of emergency. The flood death toll there stands at 334 and more than 20,000 homes have been destroyed. Al Jazeera Minil Fernandez reports.
A race to clear one of more than 200 roads affected by floods and landslides. Road crews in Galagidara in Sri Lanka's central province worked hard to restore this stretch, which was blocked by rocks and mud. Water and sludge continued to seep out of the mountain, making work difficult. And this was the result: a traffic build-up over many kilometers, taking hours for vehicles to get through. Ambulances, fuel tankers, supply trucks, and hundreds of people heading to or through Kandy had little choice. Cyclone Ditwa has moved away, but brimming reservoirs and swollen rivers have flooded Colombo, with dire warnings of worse to come.
Flood levels are increasing in some areas, and I am requesting that people in those areas be vigilant and evacuate their homes.
But like with landslide evacuation alerts, some residents have ignored warnings. President Anura Kumara Dissanayake addressed the nation on Sunday and pledged to rebuild a better Sri Lanka.
The responsibility of preventing natural disasters, managing them when they can't be prevented, and rebuilding to a better stage lies with the government. We intend to take whatever measures needed, no matter how difficult the circumstances.
That's not going to be easy. Observers say the scale of the disaster will be a challenge for Sri Lanka, which is just beginning to stabilize after multiple challenges in recent years. Mina Fernandez, Al Jazeera, Galagidara, Central Sri Lanka.
Tens of thousands of people have marched in the Philippine capital Manila, demanding President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s resignation over a corruption scandal linked to government spending on flood control infrastructures. Al Jazeera Barnaby Lowe reports.
Protesters and police face off again near the presidential palace, more than 2 months after anti-corruption protests in Manila turned violent. This time around, there were no scuffles,
But there was no shortage of anger, with rallies calling law enforcement protectors of the corrupt. Ahead of Sunday's protest, the Defense and Interior Ministers had warned against any incitement to overthrow the government.
If they are one with the people in calling for full accountability, then they should let the people exercise their free speech.
Prior to marching to the presidential palace, protesters gathered at a nearby park to express their desire for change, starting with the country's leadership.
While previous protests focused on accountability, people here say they've lost faith in the government's ability and intention to investigate and prosecute all officials involved in corruption. Now they want President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to resign because they say it's hard to fathom the country's leader, at the very least, having no knowledge at all.
On how billions of dollars meant for flood mitigation projects reportedly went to politicians instead, that is, corruption that people now blame for recent floods that killed hundreds.
Who have been arrested? These are the fixers. These are the small-time employees who get ordered by those on top to do the wrong things.
Among those on top, protesters here say is the president. In a series of clips released on social media, his once ally in Congress, Zaldico, accused Marcos of demanding around $35 million in kickbacks every month. Cabinet officials quit after the allegation, but Marcos denies any wrongdoing.
Zaldico's lawyer attempted to blackmail the government. He told us that if we don't go through with the cancellation of his client's passport, there won't be any more videos. I do not negotiate with criminals.
Yet at another mass protest on the other side of the Philippine capital, people refrained from calling for Marcos to step down. They say the constitutional successor, Vice President Sara Duterte, is just as corrupt, having been impeached on accusations of misusing intelligence funds. But those calling for Marcos's resignation say they also want Duterte out. Both camps united only in advocating against political dynasties, but otherwise unclear if and when their goals will meet. Barney Below, Al Jazeera, Manila.
Thanks, Dominique. This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3D weather forecast. And that's it, TV2 Headline News for this Monday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can tune in tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. for a rebroadcast and at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other.